Namaste. Welcome back to the Bhagavad Gita series. We finished 12 chapters and starting 13th chapter today. And let's take the first verse of the 13th chapter. Kṣetram Kṣetrajñam Vibhāga Yoga. Kṣetra is field. Kṣetrajña means one who knows the field. Kṣetra, this body is like a kṣetra, like a field. The one who knows this body or inside out is a divinity present inside the body according to Vedanta. So, 13th chapter, first slok. Shri Bhagavan Uvach. Shri Bhagavan Uvach. What is he saying? Bhagavan, as I've mentioned many times earlier in the series, Bhagavan is Bhag, means all kinds of wealth and blessings and so on. So one who is supremely blessed and who is supremely wealthy and fortunate and so on can bless us. So in English, the translation goes, the blessed Lord, the one who is already blessed, is the one who is speaking now. Shri Bhagavan Vach. Shlok first verse, 13th chapter. Idam shariram kaunteya kshetram iti abhidhiyate etad yah vetti tam prahu Kṣetrajña iti tadvid. Yes. Bhagavan is telling Arjuna, Idam shariram kaunteya, Arjuna, Kaunteya, son of Kunti. Idam shariram, neuter, this body. Kshetram, field. Iti abhidhiyate, it is explained as if this body is like a field, like a field where farming can be done, right? That kind of a field. Etad yah vetti tam prahu. This who knows, they declare him. Etad yo vetti. Whoever knows this, it is declared, is the field knower. Kṣetrajñam. Kṣetrajña in North Indian Hindi pronunciation, or Kṣetrajña in Marathi inspired or Sanskrit pronunciation. Kṣetrajña. Iti tadvid. Know that the knower is inside the field, inside this body. The blessed Lord spoke. This body, Arjuna, is said to be the field. He who knows this is called the knower of the field by those who are wise in such things, that is sages. All right, second shlok, chapter 13th. Kṣetrajñam cha api mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajñayoho jnanam yat tad jnanam matam mama. So Bhagavan Krishna, Yogeshwar Krishna is telling Arjuna still what? Kṣetrajñam cha api mam viddhi. Know me that I am that Kṣetrajña. I know the field of this body, of this personality, all personalities in the world. Know also that I am the knower of the field. That field I know. Sarva kshetreshu Bharata. Bharata, descendant of Bharata. Bharat, the primordial, legendary, mythical king. Bharat, the son of Shakuntala and Dushyant. That Bharat gave rise to this entire lineage, which is called as Bharata, which gave us the name of our country, Bharata. We are all descendants of that legendary king. So Arjuna, in this case, because the conversation is between Krishna and Arjuna, so Krishna is talking to Arjuna, O Bharata, O descendant of the great Bharat, Sarva Kshetreshu, in all fields know that I am the knower of the field. Kshetra Kshetrajñoho, dual. In Sanskrit we have three numbers, singular, plural, but then dual. Kshetra Kshetrajñoho Dhyanam, this knowledge about the field and the knower of the field. Yat tad Dhyanam matam mama. This is my opinion, my statement. Matam is my statement. Bhagavan Krishna, Yogeshwar Krishna is saying, this is my opinion, my statement. What? That this is the true knowledge. Know also that I am the knower of the field. In all fields, Arjuna, knowledge of the field and of the knower of the field, that is considered by me to be true knowledge. That is the true knowledge. If you know the knower of the field and the field, it's chapter 13th verse, third verse. Tat kshetram yat cha yadraka cha yad vikari yatascha yat sacha yah yat prabhavaha cha tat samasena me shrunu. Samas means to combine words. When you make it everything very brief, concise, precise, concise, that is called samas. Sandhi and samas. They join words and they make it brief and concise and precise. So, me shrunu, listen to me, shrunu. Imperative, listen to me. Samasen, in brief, that. So now I'm going to tell you more details of this knower and field and the knower. So listen to me now. What? Tat kshetram yat cha yadrak cha. That field, what it is and what kind. Listen to me. Yat vikari, what are its modifications? Vikari in the sense of not negativity, but how it changes, how it modifies. Yataha yat, where all it modifies and how does it modify. Sa cha yah yat prabha. And what are its after effects, the impact of its modifications on the field. Listen to me now. I'm going to tell you in brief. All right. Fourth verse now. Chautha shlok. Rishibhihi bahudha Gītam छंदोभिः विविधैः पृथक् ब्रह्म सूत्र उपदेशैव हेतुम अद्भिः विनिश्चितैः. By the sages, Bahuda, many times, Gītam, sung means verses, they were singing in Upanishads and the Vedas and so on. So by the sages, it has been mentioned many times in their verses and songs, Chandovi, in meters and in verses and so on, Vividhai Prathak, different kinds of verses, they have sung all these things for many times, Bahuda, many places. Brahma Sutra Upadesha, it has also been specifically mentioned in Brahma Sutras, the Vedanta Sutras, Brahma Sutras, which are the core of the Hindu philosophy. Hetu Madbhi Vinishchitaihi, full of reasoning. The purpose is all mentioned in these quotations in verse 5th, chapter 13th. Mahabhutani Ahankaraha Buddhihi Avyaktam Evacha Indriyani Dashaika Cha Pancha Cha Indriya Gocharaha. So, what is the field? Now, field consists of what? Mahabhutaha, the great elements. Which are the great elements? Earth, water, fire, air, and space. Panch Mahabhutaha. Then Ahankaraha, Buddhi, that is ego. Buddhi, intellect. Avyaktam, the unmanifest. Indriyani, the 10 senses. Dashekam, so 10 senses, that is the knowledge senses and action senses, Karmendriya and Gyanendriya. Panchacha Indriya Gochara, and the 5 objects of the senses. What different senses are, what they're trying to accomplish. All that is part of the future. 6th verse. Ichha dveshaha sukham dukham sanghataha cha chetana dhritihi etat kshetram samasena savikaram udayatam. Ichha, the desire, dvesh, hatred, sukham, pleasure, dukham, sorrow, sanghata chetana, the organic whole of all these consciousness and steadfastness, to hold on to something, dhritihi, chetana, consciousness, etat kshetram. So all these, when they are combined, all this field is formed. Field is formed by all combining all of these. Savikaram udayat, modifications, this is how it is described. Right? So desire, hatred, pleasure, pain, the body, intelligence, steadfastness. This briefly is described as a field with its modifications. And verse 7. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, kshantihi, arjavam, acharya, upasanam, shaucham, sthiryam, atma, vinigraha. So, amanitvam, aman. So, absence of pride, false pride. Adambhitvam, adambhitvam. Dambha is hypocrisy. So, adambhitvam, non-hypocrisy, no hypocrisy. Ahimsa, non-violence. Kshanti, to have patience. And arjavam, simplicity, rectitude. Acharya upasanam cha, to service your acharyas, the great teachers. And shaucham, purity. Sthiryam, stability. Constancy, self-restraint. All these are valuable qualities for the field. So this completes our 7 verses. 8th shlok, chapter 13th. Indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankar evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. The one who is detached from his senses, sensory objects, sensory pleasures, one who is without ego, pride, anahankar, indriyartheshu vairagyam, detachment from senses, objects of senses, anahankar, without ego, without pride, false pride, janma mrityu jara vyadhi, dukkha doshanu darshanam, one who can observe and perceive and think about janma, birth, mrityu, death, jara, old age, and vyadhi, the disease, dukh, sorrow, sadness, dosh, anything negative or demerits. These 6 things one should carefully observe almost every second, every time. Right? Those are the great qualities of spiritually evolved people. So indifference to the objects of senses and absence of egoism, keeping in view the evils of birth. The translator is adding some masala here. I didn't say evils, but just observe your process. I just would like to keep it neuter. Why say evil or good? Or just observe the process, that where did I come from? Where would I go after death? Where did I come before birth? Where was I? After death, where would I go? That's simple observation. The temporariness, right? The momentariness of this life is what I think Bhagavad Gita is trying to teach here. We all are going to get old. We may all fall sick, and we may all feel some kind of disease or pain. This is very similar to what Buddha encountered in that maiden trip that he took outside when he came out of his palace and went to this, and that changed his life forever. So those observations, those perceptions, we also see those things. It doesn't affect us, but it affected Buddha. It affected the Buddha, the Shakyamuni Buddha. It should affect us also. That is what the Bhagavad Gita is saying. And things like that makes Western scholars say that Bhagavad Gita was written or composed or narrated after Buddhism. Who knows? That's a big controversy, chronological controversies. We are not interested in that, but all these things are part of this debate. Whether Bhagavad Gita is influenced by Buddhism. I don't think so, but anyway, that's a separate topic. All right, chapter 13th, verse 9th. Asakti anabhishwanga putradar grihadishu nityam cha samachittatvam. Wow, what so great words here. Ishtanishtaha upapattishu. Beautiful words, not very common words. Asakti, asakti, non-attachment. Asakti, asakti. Anabhishwanga, absence of clinging. The person is not attaching to these things. Which things? Putra, children. So putra here means both genders, all genders, I guess. So children, that person is detached with their children. Wife, dar is wife or spouse. Grihadishu, homes, etc. That person is detached from all worldly things. Again, one might argue that it's influenced from Buddhism or Jainism. Who knows? Because the detachment or renunciation was really not really a prominent feature of Vedic culture, at least not the Vedic culture, but of course Upanishads had that traces also. Bhagavad Gita itself says that this is the gist of all Upanishads, right? So this is maybe influence of Upanishad of the Upanishads or Buddhism or Jainism, who knows, but probably from everything. All right, then Nityam cha samachittatvam, even-mindedness. Sama, even, chittatvam, the mindedness. So even-minded, nityam, constantly, every second. Ishtanishtaha upapattishu, towards desired and undesired. Ishta, desired. Anishtaha, undesired. One should practice equanimity, which we have seen in earlier chapters as well. These are the great qualities of spiritually evolved people. Very famous shlok. Mai cha ananya yogena bhakti avyabhicharini vivikta desha sevitvam arati jana sansadi. Now this word sansadi, very interesting. Sansad is our parliament. Sansad simply means a common place where all meet. Sansad is parliament today in India, but Jan Sansadi, one who is away from, again, you might say influence from Buddhism, Jainism, but what he's saying, what is being said here is that one who is spiritually evolved is away from society of people's human society, Jana Sansadi, human society. Arati, that person has no interest in human society, apparently, detached. Again, detachment is highly highlighted here. Mai cha ananya yogena. In me, Krishna is telling Arjuna, in me, Mai is in me, locative. Cha ananya yogena. Without any sense of detachment from me. In me, one who is completely focused in me, that is, in spiritual, Brahman, Yogeshwar Krishna, ananya, non-detachment. Advait, non-dual. Bhakti avyabhicharini. Devoted to me, bhakti, devotion. Avyabhicharini, no mix of any other thought. When one is focused on God, on Yogeshwar Krishna, one should have that 100% devotion, 100% focus. No other adulteration in that devotion. Vivikta desha sevitvam. Vivikta. Again, I see Buddhism here. You can challenge that or Upanishad. Secluded, vivikta, secluded. Desha, place. Sevitvam, frequenting. So, one is detached from society and completely focused without adulteration. Vyabhicharini is a very interesting word. Vyabhichar usually is used for adultery in common Hindi language. Here, avyabhicharini bhakti. So, unadulterated devotion, we can say. So, that kind of devotion and detachment from humans. Influence of Buddhism, Jainism, I don't know. Or Upanishad, I don't know. All right. Verse 11th, chapter 13th. Adhyatma dhyana nityatvam, spiritual knowledge, constantly. Tattva jnanarth darshanam, observation, perception of philosophical knowledge. Etad jnanam iti proktam. This is the true knowledge. This has been mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Upanishad. Proktam, it has been mentioned, quoted. Ajnanam yad ataha anyatha. Anyatha, everything else is ajnanam. It's a very broad and very strong assertion, emphatic assertion by Yogeshwar Krishna. What is he saying? Constancy in knowledge of the Supreme Spirit, Brahman, observing the goal of knowledge of the truth. This is declared to be true knowledge, the only true knowledge. Ignorance is what is contrary. Everything else is ignorance. All right, chapter 13th, verse 12th. Neyam yat tat pravakshami. I shall declare, future tense, the to be known which that I shall declare. This is what I'll declare. I'll explain. Pravakshami. Yat jnatva amritam ashnute. By knowing that, jnatva, having known that, you will attain immortality. One can attain immortality. Amritam, immortality. Anadi mat param brahma. Less supreme Brahman. Anadi, adi is beginning, anadi, beginning less, param brahma, that supreme cosmic spiritual phenomenon, transcendental phenomenon. Na sat tat, na asat uchyate. Not being this, not being that, it is said. So, not true, not untrue, beyond true and untrue. I shall declare that which has to be known, knowing which one attains immortality. It is a beginningless supreme Brahman, which is said to be neither existent nor non-existent. This is reminding us of the Nasadiya Sukt in the Rig Veda, which talks about when did all this universe begin? When there was no existence, not non-existence, how did it all begin? There are a lot of questions and speculations in Nasadiya Sukt in the Rig Veda, traces of which we find in this shlok, because Brahman is beyond existence, beyond non-existence. It was always here or it was never here. It is beyond those dichotomy, right? That kind of dichotomy does not apply to Brahman. Amazing, amazing philosophy of India, of Hindu philosophy. All right, verse 13th, chapter 30. Sarvataha pani padam tat. Everywhere there are limbs. Pani is head, hand, arms. Pani grahan is vibhāga sanskar, as you know. So pani pad is feet or limbs, right? So everywhere hand and foot this. Sarvataha akshi shiraha mukham. Akshi shiraha mukham. Eyes, head and face, everywhere. The entire universe has Brahman's hands and limbs and feet and eyes and head and face. That's what they say. Sarvataha shrutimat loke. Everywhere having heard, hearing in the world. So yes, universe is synonymous with ears of Brahman. What an analogy. What a poetic way of saying that divinity is everywhere in the universe. Sarvam avritya tishtati. That Brahman tishtati, stays, sarvam, arvritya, covering. This reminds us of the Ishavasya Upanishad's first slok. What is that? Ishavasyam idam sarvam, yat kinchit jagatyan jagata, tena taktena bhunjita, ma gridha kasyat vidram. Divinity is everywhere. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. Same thing here. Sarvam avritya tishtati. Divinity is everywhere. Beautiful Advait Vedant philosophy. And verse 14th, chapter 13th, Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, all the sense gunas, appearance, you find Brahman. Sarvendriya Vivarjitam, all senses are also freed from that idea. Asaktam sarvabhat cha eva, unattached and all maintaining, it maintains everything. Sarvabhrit, bharta, one who maintains everything. Bharta. Right? It's like husband or father is called as Bharta. Tvamev karta asi, tvamev bharta asi. You are my doer, you are my maintainer, you maintain me. We tell God also, Bhagwan. So same thing here. So that kind of Brahman is unattached, asaktam, but also sarvabhritam, it maintains the universe. Nirgunam, it is beyond qualities and attributes or attributes. Guna bhoktaha cha. So free from gunas and attributes, nirguna nirakar we say, Advait Vedant, and experiencing the gunas. And yet it can also experience all the gunas, attributes. So this is the definition of Kṣetrajña Yoga chapter. This chapter 13th is. So Kṣetrajña, one who is inside this body, which is the field, that knower of this field has all these attributes. That is Nirgun Nirakar, and all the other things that we discussed in these last seven verses of this chapter 13. 15th verse 15th. Bahihi antah cha bhutanam acharam charam eva cha sukshmatvat tad avigyeyam durastham cha antike cha tat. Durastham cha antike cha tat. That reminds us of Ishavasya Upanishad's similar line, tad dure tadvantike. Even it sounds even similar and its meaning is very similar. That spirit, that Brahman is far yet extremely close. It is transcendental as well as it is within us all, Brahman's qualities. So, Bahihi antaha cha bhutanam. It's outside and inside. Bahihi, outside, antaha, inside, bhutanam, all, inside all beings. Acharam, non-moving, charam, moving entities, evacha, both. Sukshmatvat tat avigyam. It's extremely subtle, so it is unknowable. It is not commonly experienceable or knowable. As we all know, we can't really experience Brahman unless we are enlightened. Right? And so durastham cha antike chat. So it's extremely far yet extremely close because it's very subtle. Verse 16th, chapter 13th. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktam iva cha sthitam bhut bhartra cha tad geyam grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. What a great, awesome use of the word grasishnu with Prabhavishnu. Vishnu we all know, Prabhavishnu, Lord that maintains the universe. Grasishnu is the word synonym for Shiva, that devours everything, takes away the entire universe and it recreates, of course, but that process of creation and dissolution, let's not call it destruction, but dissolution and recreation is an infinite cycle in Hinduism and also in Jainism. There is no creator, destroyer in Jainism, but it's infinite cycle there also. So Grasishnu and Prabhavishnu are kind of counterparts to the same divine force of dissolution and recreation. So what it says, verse 16, Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. It's undivisible in all beings. Bhut is not ghost. Bhut simply means being, living being in Sanskrit. So, avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. Because of this confusion, colonial British translators of Ayurvedic texts translated bhut as ghosts. That Ayurveda is all about ghosts and superstitions and chudal and this and that, all nonsense they misinterpreted. But bhut simply means living being, not ghost in Sanskrit. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. It's indivisible in all beings. Vibhaktam iva cha siddham. It is also divided among all the beings in the universe. Bhut bhartra cha tad geyam. Bhartra is to that which sustains everything. So this Brahman force in all beings sustains all beings in the universe. So they are knowable also. So it is knowable also, singular. Cha tad geyam. So it is knowable because it maintains all the beings in the universe. Grasishnu prabhavishnu cha. Because it devours everything, it dissolves the universe, but also it creates and maintains it. Amazing line. I didn't know this line ever. I never heard this line before. First time as I translated this. All right, chapter 13th, verse 17th. Jyotisham apitad jyotihi tamasah param uchya jnanam geyam jnanagamyam. Wow, wonderful. Hridis sarvasya vishtitam. That's an interesting verb. This also is new. In the heart of all city. Jyotisham apitad jyotis. Among all the different lights, it is the light among all the light. Tamasaha param uchyate, but it's also darkness, as quoted, as mentioned, uchyate, as mentioned by other sages. Jnanam geyam jnanagamyam. Jnanam, it is knowledge, supreme knowledge. Geyam, to be known. Jnanagamyam, to strive for that kind of knowledge. Is all in one. So knowledge, to be known, and goal of knowledge. Goal of all knowledge is also Brahman. Hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. Vishtitam, really interesting. So it's established, seated in the heart of all. So this is said to be the light of lights, beyond darkness, knowledge, object of knowledge, and which is to be attained through knowledge. It is seated in the hearts of all. What a great description. Poetic, philosophical, with all kinds of ironies, and it's supposed to defy logic how exactly Brahman is. Where does Brahman reside? So it breaks all the dichotomies and polar opposites. It's far and near, light and darkness, and on and on. Iti Kṣetram tatha jnanam. This is the field, this is the knowledge. Geyam cha uktam samasat. Samasa is like, in brief, in very concise and precise terms, I'm explaining. Mad bhakta etad vigyaya mad bhavaya upapadya. So what it says, verse 18. Thus the field and knowledge, iti kshetram tata jnanam. Geyam cha uktam samasata. And the to be known
described briefly, samasata. To be known, gyayam cha uktam, as mentioned, as quoted. Mad bhakta, my devotee, etad vigyaya, this understanding to be known, I'm telling you in brief, mad bhavaya upapadyate. So you enter into my state of being by following my brief description of my knowledge of the field and that which is to be known. So thus the field, knowledge, and the object of knowledge have been briefly described. My devotee, understanding this, enters into my state of being, that is Brahman state of being. Verse 19th. Prakritim purusham cha eva vidhi anadi ubhau api vikaran cha gunan cha eva vidhi prakriti sambhavan. So prakritim and purusham, this is the material nature and the spiritual nature, matter and spirit. Know that material nature and spirit are both beginningless. Prakritim purusham cha eva vidhi anadi. Adi is beginning, anadi without beginning. Ubhau api, both are beginning without beginning. All right. Then, and know also that the modifications of the field, vikarancha gunancha eva, modifications and attributes of both, vidhi prakriti sambhavan. Those arise from material nature. Whatever modifications happen are because of the material nature of reality. Okay. Verse 20th. This matches Jainism's metaphysics, where Jainism says that even though we all are, our ultimate nature is soul, but our body keeps changing every second. All infinite changes are always happening in all material bodies in the universe. So that's it matches that philosophy. Verse 20th. Chapter 13, verse 20. Karya karan kartritve hetuhu prakritihi uchyate purusham sukha dukkhanam bhoktratve hetuhu uchyate. So, karya, that which is to be done. Karan, the instrument, the cause. Kartritve, the doer. Hetuhu prakritihi uchyate. The purpose, the cause, the material nature is the cause. Cause is material nature. Purushaha sukha dukkhanam. And the spirit of pleasure and pain. Sukha dukkhanam. Bhoktritve hetuhu uchyate. In the experiencing, the cause, it is said. So, material nature is said to be the cause in the producing of cause and effect. The spirit is said to be the cause in the experiencing of pleasure and pain. That which experiences this pleasure and pain is spirit. That which undergoes this change is material nature. So, that dichotomy is very clear. It seems to be inspired heavily by Samkhya Yoga, the Shad Darshan, the 6 philosophical branches in Hindu-Indian philosophy. 6 are Astik Darshan, that all 6 accept the Vedas and Brahman. And then 3 are Nastik, Buddhism, Jainism, and Charvaka. So among the Shad Darshan, among the 6 Darshanas, there is Sankhya Darshan, which clearly divides Purush and Prakriti, and that is what we see here in Bhagavad Gita also. So Bhagavad Gita is in essence a summary of all the Astik Darshana, but also we see glimpses of Buddhism and Jainism also, as I just mentioned in the previous verse. So here the dichotomy is very clear, very pronounced. Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti is material nature. Purusha is the spiritual nature, the spirit, yes. All right, the verse 21st now, chapter 13. Purusha prakriti hi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan karanam gunasangah asya asat yoni janmasu. All right, so Purusha prakristha hi bhunkte prakriti jan gunan. For the spirit abiding in material nature, spirit abides in material nature, Purusha, which stays inside Prakriti, experiences the qualities born of material nature. Bhunkte means experience. Bhog is to enjoy, to experience. Of bhunkte, experiences. Prakriti jan gunan. Qualities, gunan qualities. Prakriti jan, born out of material nature. Karanam gunasangah asya. Attachment to the qualities. Because of the attachment to the qualities, it becomes cause of its birth in good or evil species. What kind of yoni it will get in the next birth will be determined by how the spirit, which is abiding in material nature, will experience the qualities that are born out of material nature. So once again, for the spirit abiding in material nature, spirit inside material nature will experience the qualities born out of material nature, and attachment to those qualities will be the cause of birth in good or evil next birth. Yoni means feminine regenerative process, but yoni also means species. So what kind of next birth you will get will be determined by how you react to different attachments that arise because of the qualities that are born out of material nature in all of that. Completes chapter 13's 21st verse. Verse 22nd. Upadrashta anumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwarah Paramatmeti cha api uktah dehesmin purushah para. So the divinity is inside all of us in some kind of a gradation scheme. It's initially upadrashta, it's simply an observer. Then anumanta, as we evolve spiritually, as we keep doing good and good, more better and better things in life, as we keep evolving from upadrashta, from an observer, it becomes anumanta. It becomes supporter, sustains us, and it pushes us to be even better. Upadrashta, anumanta, cha. Then bharta, it becomes active supporter for all our divine or spiritual activities. Then bhokta, it starts enjoying within us all those spiritual divine things that we are doing using our body, our mind. And finally, Maheshwara, ultimate God, Supreme Lord, and Paramatma, the Brahman itself. Paramatma cha iti cha api ukta. So that is what is mentioned by sages, by others. So Krishna, Bhagavan, Yogeshwar Krishna is quoting other sages. Cha api ukta, as said by others. He's the Supreme Lord, but he's quoting others. Dehesmin Purusha Para. So that is the inside the body, Dehesmin, inside the body, locative, Purusha Para. That's the Supreme Lord is inside the spirit. So the highest spirit in this body is called the witness, observer, the consenter, the approver, the supporter, sustainer, experiencer, the great Lord, and also the Supreme Spirit, the Brahman. All right, chapter 13th, verse 23rd. Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunaihi sah sarvatha vartamanaha api na sa bhuyah abhijayate. Whoever knows this final truth they don't have to return to this world for rebirth process. They are beyond rebirth. They attain the ultimate state of moksha. Who? Ya eva vetti purusham. One who knows this purusham, the supreme spirit, the Brahman, prakritim, and the material thing, cha gunahi, and all the attributes of the material body. If they know the distinction of these prakriti and purush and the divine, the distinction between the two, they can attain the moksha and transcend all rebirth process. Verse 24th. Dhyanenatmani pashyanti kechit atmanam atmana anye sankhena yogena karma yogena cha apare. How do you perceive this distinction between Purush and Prakriti? There are various ways. Dhyanenatmani, either by meditation, by concentration. Dhyanen atmani, either do it by dhyan, meditation, or do it atmanam atmanam, by perceiving self through self, or do it by Sankhya Yoga, knowledge, by spiritual knowledge, or do it by Karma Yoga, by Nishkam Karma, that is unattached spiritual work action that you do. So some perceive the self in the self by the self through meditation, others by the discipline of Samkhya, and still others by the yoga of action, Karma Yoga. Verse 25th, chapter 13th. Anye tu evam ajanantah shutva anyebhya upasate te api cha ati tarantya eva mrityum shruti parayana. Those who are shruti parayan people, those who depend on what they have heard from spiritual sages, their wisdom through just by listening to Vedas and other shrutis, they do it just by following those divine words. Anyetu evam ajanantah. Yet others know it. Those who don't know Sankhya Yoga or Karma Yoga or Dhyan Yoga or other disciplines can just do it by following the words of other higher sages, the words that are based in the Vedic wisdom. So, yet others, not knowing this, worship, having heard it from other sages, and they also cross beyond. They also transcend the process of rebirth, devoted to what they've heard, because they are Shruti Parayana. They follow the Vedic wisdom by listening to the spiritual words by other sages. Verse 26, chapter 13. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavara jangamam Kṣetrajña sanyogat tad vidhi bhartarshabha. Bhartarshabha is the word for synonym for Arjuna. So, O Arjuna, know this. Yavat sanjayate kinchit. Any being, whatever that is born, sanjayate, if it is born, yavat sanjayate kinchit, whatever is born, sattvam, their existence, sthavara, the immobile beings, jangamam, moving or unmoving, mobile or immobile beings, Kṣetrajña sanyogat, by the divine combination of the material cause and the Purush and Prakriti, right? Kṣetra and Kṣetrajña, when they come together, they are born. Just know this, O Arjuna. Know, Arjuna, that any being, whatever that is born, moving or unmoving, arises from the union of the field and the knower of the field. Verse 27. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parmeshwaram vinashyatva avinashyantam yah pashyati sa pashyati. One who can see this distinction once again, he who sees the Supreme Lord existing alike in all beings in the universe, not perishing when they perish. Even if the material body perishes, the Supreme Spirit, the Brahman, does not perish inside them. If you can see that distinction, you see the reality. All right, then finally, samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram na hinastya atmana atmanam tato yati param gatim. Samam pashyan hi satru. Seeing indeed the same Lord, samam pashyam hi sarvatra. Everywhere the same Lord, same divine spirit Brahman. Samavasthitam ishwaram, established everywhere. Samavasthitam ishwaram, that is established everywhere universally. Na hinastya atmana atman. He does not injure the self by the self because he sees the distinction. Tato yati param. Thereupon he goes to the supreme goal. The moksha can be attained once you see the distinction clearly between Brahman and body, Purush and Prakriti. Verse 29th. Prakriti evacha karmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tatha atmanam akartaram sa pashyati. So Bhagavan Krishna is explaining the difference between Kṣetra and Kṣetrajña, matter and spirit, body and Brahman. So Prakriti evacha karmani, only material nature acts physically. Kriyamanani sarvasha, exclusively material body remains active. Yah pashyati tatha atmanam. One who sees this from his or her soul, that akartaram sa pashyati, then that person can realize akartaram, that is Brahman. So he who sees that all actions are performed exclusively by material nature, and thus the self with a capital S, is not the doer. Brahman is not the doer. Brahman stays away from all activities. Truly, that is the real, final real. Verse 30th, 30, chapter 13th. Yada bhut prithak bhavam ekastham anupashyati tat eva cha vistaram Brahma sampadhyate tada. Yada bhut prithak bhavam. How he perceives the various states of being. Bhut, prithak bhav. Prithak, many different kinds of varieties of states of physical being, as resulting in the one. Ekastham anupashyati. But all those states result and are stationed in one final seat, which is Brahman. Tat eva cha vistar. And all those states are spreading out from that one state, that is Brahman. Then yet, by realizing that, one can attain Brahman. Brahma sampadhyate. Pad is to walk. Pad gave us the English for podium, pad and podium, and pedestrians, all those words are connected. Here, pad became sampadhyate, as if moving towards that state of realizing Brahman. Verse 31st. Anaditvan nirgunatvat parmatma ayam avyayah sharirastha api kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. So, na karoti na lipyate. This is again once again reminding us of the verse from Ishavasya Upanishad in which na karma lipyate nare. That's that very famous line in second or third verse, which means simply that the Brahman or the soul, which is a reflection of Brahman inside the body, which is the Kṣetrajña, because that soul knows body as objectively. So that soul, that Brahman, na karoti, does not act. Na lipyate. Any action that is performed is not sticking to the soul. So anaditvan nirgunatvat, the imperishable anaditvat, without beginning. Adi means beginning. Adi to ant is end. And anadi, beginningless. Nirgunatvat, that has no attributes. Nirgun, nirakar, Brahman, Atman is without any attributes. Paramatma ayam avyayah. This is Paramatma, this is Brahman. Ayam, this, avyayah, imperishable, beginning, sharirastha, stationed inside the body, api kaunteya. Inside, even if it is inside the body, kaunteya or Arjuna, he's talking to Arjuna, na karoti na lipyate. It neither acts nor is tainted. Nothing sticks to the soul because it stays objectively separate from all the physical activities, as explained also in Ishavasya. All right, verse 32nd, chapter 13. Yatha sarvagatam saksham. Now some comparisons, how this separation exists inside the body. Separation as explained in this verse, 32nd verse, chapter 13th. Yatha sarvagatam sakshamyad akasham na upalipyate. Na upalipyate. Sarvatra avasthitah dehe tatha atma na upalipyate. Just as Akash, not the Akash in the sky, but space, which is all around us. There is space inside me, inside everyone, everywhere there is space. Right? Yatha sarvagatam soksham, but it's so subtle, sokshamyat, because of its subtleties. Sukshma means subtle. Sokshamyat, from its subtlety, it goes inside everywhere. Space is everywhere, yet space is untainted by whatever it touches. Similarly, sarvatra avasthitah dehe, even though Atma is stationed, is residing in everywhere, in all the bodies, but it still remains untainted by the physical activities done by the body. Right. Verse 33, chapter 13. Yatha prakashayati ekah kritsnam lokam imam ravihi. Another analogy here of sun, ravihi. Kshetram kshetri tatha kritsnam prakashayati bharata. Just as the sun alone illumines the entire world, so the Lord of the field, that is Brahman, illumines the entire field, O Arjuna. How? Yatha prakashayati, third person singular verb, prakashayati. As illumines ekaha, one sun can illumine the entire world. It does illumine the entire world. Similarly, one Brahman illumines the entire universe. And finally, the last verse of chapter 13, we complete chapter 13 now. Kṣetra Kṣetrajñoho evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhut prakriti moksham cha ye viduhu yanti te param. They who realize that there is a separation between Kshetra and Kṣetrajña, physical material body and spiritual self, Brahman, by their eyes of knowledge, jnana chakshu, eyes of knowledge or knowledgeable eyes or realization, the eyes that can have realization, they bhut prakriti, they attain liberation from physical activities, physical world, and they attain the ultimate destination, yanti te param. Param is the supreme state of moksha. So they who know through the eye of knowledge the distinction between the field and the knower of the field, as well as the liberation of beings from material nature, go to the supreme. So this completes our chapter 13, and so this was Kṣetra Kṣetrajña Vibhāga Yoga. And next week we'll release the full summary of chapter 13, and then after that Sunday we will start chapter 14th. Thank you.